course, ensuring the security of all Wagner fighters who've been involved in this armed mutiny attempt. Right now, behind me, we can still see the block post of the Wagner military group. However, the rest of the traffic on these main streets continues at the moment. Now, we've been here throughout the day monitoring the situation. It got tense a couple of times throughout the day when we heard the shots being fired. We heard an explosion. We saw a Wagner fighter accidentally shooting himself in the leg. The tensions were absolutely tough throughout the day. However, at this moment, as the way it looks right now, everything looks to be completely peaceful. Now, the head of the Wagner group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has already issued an order that all of his troops will now be heading to their field camps, and hopefully very soon we will see the deblocking of the headquarters of the military here in Rostov-on-Don.
Well, let's try and make sense of it all now and bring in our guest, Michael Maloof, former senior security policy analyst in the office of the Secretary of Defence. Many thanks for joining us on the programme. Always a pleasure to see you. So let's just discuss what these extraordinary events that have been happening in Moscow in the past few hours. Why do you think Wagner's chief has agreed to this proposal from the Belarusian president?
Well, I think he realizes that his options really are limited when you think about it. His forces are basically supplied by the Russian military, and I think he wanted to defuse the situation in order to not include killing any Russians, which is nice of him. But realistically, his options were very limited from the get-go. He really had no and to do what he's doing right now. He may have he at least got a call for a possible negotiation. Let's see if that bears fruit. But frankly, realistically, I think Prigozhin is out of the picture from here on. Given what President Putin had to say this morning about the leadership of the so-called rebellion.
This is also what I'm thinking personally. I think the trust levels are at an all-time low now.
Yes.
Do you think the Russian authorities will punish the rebelling fighters or pardon them?
I don't think the aim will be to punish fighters. It will be the leadership. Primarily, and who else of his inner circle who were involved. You don't take it out on the troops. They're just following orders because there is a history that if you renege, you're going to get shot. So I think they really are in a position of coercion. Plus, it would be folly for Prigozhin to carry this out any further because he doesn't have the support of the Russian people. He does not have the support of the Russian military that we've seen. Now, I'm a little perplexed by how quickly he could take over the military garrison in Rostov. Does that mean sympathy in there? I don't know. That's something that has to be looked at. What I do know is that here in the West, even some presidential candidates are licking their chops to tell the Ukrainians to start taking initiative at this moment, and since President Putin's attention is distracted, but I don't see the disbandment of Wagner Group. I think that if there's new leadership, I think there has to be some certainty that they will receive the supplies that they want and have. Now, I do know that Shoigu, the defense minister, tried to incorporate them within the Russian military. That might be, he may be able to get away with it, or he may not be. I think it would deplete their inability to operate as a fighting force as they have if they're incorporated within the Russian military. I could be wrong, but that's a possibility because their creativity, their flexibility, something that you don't see normally in militaries, is something that the Wagner Group has. We have that with our special forces, although our special forces are under our military commands. Now, that might be a possibility. Who knows? I think technically PMCs are not allowed. Actually, it's a PMC. It's our private military contractors. They're not like our SEALs or our Rangers. They are part of our military, but PMCs are not. So that's a very thin line here, but they do operate. They are supplied by the Russian military. So this is a very interesting development.
Yeah, they're private military contractors, but they're still patriots. They're still fighting for their country.
Yes,
so the whole prospect of a civil war is just so bizarre. The whole turn of events over the past few hours has been so unexpected and so weird in a way. Did you expect such an outcome to the crisis with no blood being spilled among civilians? Did you think it would end so abruptly and so simply?
Yeah, I didn't think he could carry it out, frankly, because he doesn't have that backing. Yeah, if he had the backing of the Russian military, then he would go full speed ahead. But that's not evident. He doesn't have the backing of the Russian people, and all of his supplies come from the Russian military. So I think he was using it as a bargaining chip. He was just trying to make a point, Prigozhin, that is. Whether or not he has succeeded, I don't know, but I think he's basically burned his bridge, his personal bridge with the leadership. And I think there will be some repercussions, but not against the troops themselves, because they have distinguished themselves as very capable fighters, and they've done things, frankly, that the Russian military could not achieve.
Yeah,
and in very critical areas in Ukraine and in other areas. They've been in the vanguard into Africa, so they've been an asset. Primarily to the Russian government over time.
As we mentioned earlier, some people will be watching the unfolding events with glee. The Wall Street Journal says that the US intends to postpone an introduction of new sanctions against the Wagner Group due to the situation in Russia. Is this the US hoping to capitalize on the recent chaos? How would you explain that?
Well, the United States will do anything that creates opposition to the government itself. Just as I said, they're going to be looking to, I think maybe they were hoping to get more, the U.S. was hoping to see more support for the Wagner Group by the general population as well as the Russian military. I don't see that happening.